is this accurate, one of the busiest ladies currently in DCU?
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's absolutely not to scare anybody out of this session, but we will get into why and how you're so busy. But firstly, as always, in these conversations, how has things been the last few weeks? No doubt busy, but in general, how have they been for you?
Yeah, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty strange, to be honest. So with the pandemic, it kind of messed up my intra placement a little bit. So usually we do an intra placement in the second part of your third year. So you go out at the end of March, go into a paid work placement in a company to do like an engineering placement. But obviously that kind of got a little bit messed up with the pandemic. Eventually I did get in June, but it was a little bit messy getting in. So that's been a bit strange, and I did actually stay on for a couple days a week now working in there because they kind of liked me being in there and liked that I was willing to work during the pandemic. But it's been fairly busy. I'm in final year now, so I have a lot of assignments and exams to prepare for, so always going, never stopping.
For those that are listening, we're going to get into the course, don't worry, in full the course, because we have a unique opportunity to talk to a final year student who has been through, well, what would you say, it's nearly 3.5 years. Wow, time flies. Two or three of them being a student ambassador?
This is the third year now, yeah.
This is your third year. So something's going right. You're getting kept on each and every year.
I hope so, anyway.
No, certainly you are. So we're going to get into a few different things. We're going to try our best to cover the course, obviously, and give people a sense that are watching live, but also watching back. And just like the last session, if you have a question and you'd like to ask it to Fates, please do just get it in. It's anonymous. We'll do our very best, as I said, to ask as many questions as we can. So I'm thinking about engineering. What do I need to know? I'm a sixth year, and what do I need to know?
Well, engineering in DCU has a couple of different entries that you can come in by. I myself came in through the common entry into engineering because I wasn't quite sure what type of engineering I wanted to do. So that means that no matter which course you come into, everyone does the exact same first year, and you get kind of a basis of all the engineering. So you get to do a bit of electronics, you get to do a bit of sciences to bring everyone up to the same speed, and a bit of the mechanical side as well. And I found it really great because I came from school where I didn't really have much experience in engineering, but I knew that I was like wanted to be a bit creative. I wanted to do a bit of designing and stuff. But it really gave me a chance to kind of choose which one I wanted to do. Then some of the options you have after that are mechatronic engineering, the one which I'm in, which is a combination of mechanical and electronic. You have your electronic engineering, your mechanical engineering, your biomedical engineering, and then I believe there's a new entry for this year as well, sustainable systems energy, which seems really interesting, but it wasn't an option for me when I was coming in. So
can I ask about the common entry for a moment? Some people, and it depends on obviously how much research that you've done so far, but some people are aware of it but might necessarily like the route or like the look of it, or maybe sometimes the name throws it off. What is, if any, the difference between going into mechatronic first year, as in day one first year, or common entry?
honestly, in terms of the content that you do during the year, there is absolutely no difference at all. I've had the exact same experience as somebody who would have come in through the CO with the mechatronics code. But all it means is I got an email at the end of the year asking me which course I would like to specialize in from second to fourth year. I got the exact same journey. It's not adding an extra year or anything. It's the exact same. And it just means that you get a bit of time to come in, try some engineering, get to talk to some lecturers and some students that are already doing the course, and kind of make your decision kind of based on that more than just doing a little bit of research outside it.
Research, as you mentioned it, how did you do yours? Where did you find the information? Open days, online? Whereabouts did you find your information?
Yeah, well, I found a lot of information online. I went to DCU Open Days, and the reason I'm actually a student ambassador is because I was actually talking to one of our student ambassadors, Connor, who graduated there last year, and I actually spoke to him on Open Days, and I got to walk around the engineering building during Open Days as well. I just found that was really great, and I found that like DCU seemed to be a nice fit. Everyone seemed really nice, and it seemed like a really nice place to be. So that's kind of the research that I did and kind of how I got a better idea.
It is amazing how it works. And for those that are interested, Connor was on episode 6 a couple of weeks ago, who graduated, as Faith said, from this program. And we spoke to him about where he currently is. So if you're interested, you can go online and watch that. But what I wanted to really say was, it's always, I'm not surprised, but there's lots of different stories, particularly when I talk to student ambassadors like yourselves, of I remember the first time I spoke to X, and often that X is a student ambassador, and how they, just like you are and have done so the last couple of years, influence positively so many people. In terms of the people, if you get into the people side of it for a moment, I go into engineering, say, let's say common entry. I don't, or I can't pick up something as quick as maybe someone else. How do I get support? What support's on offer, in specifically engineering?
Yeah, so for engineering, I found that kind of meeting other students can always be a great resource. The Engineering Society work very closely with the faculty at the start of first year to make sure the students kind of get to know each other. I know even during the pandemic, they're running kind of events and stuff, so they always do a first year scavenger hunt to get first years kind of meet each other. I still have best friends that I met during that scavenger hunt in first year, and it's a really great way to meet other students, but as well you get to meet students from older years from becoming involved with the society as well. And then in terms of the staff, all the lecturers are absolutely lovely. You can ask them any questions that you want, and there's always seems to be people around that are willing to help you and willing to help you out. And then as well you have your maths learning centre, as there is a lot of maths involved in our course, so you kind of do need that sometimes when you're a little bit stuck with a bit of your maths.
It's interesting. I didn't set up this question anyway, but it's interesting because what I'm just recalling in my head a couple of weeks ago, when I said Connor was on, he said he knows his lecturers by first name only, not professor or not whatever it might be, first name. And it's kind of what you're saying. The door is always open. They're there to help. The support is there because, as you said, like me and many other people that go to university, there's often challenges in and outside the classroom. It's just important to note. So I want to try to get into a sense of course breakdown. So, and I know there's lots in all of the years, so we'll have to go into great detail, but say year one, how many modules, how many exams? Give us a flavor and a sense of the overall kind of course and the structure within it.
Yeah, so in first year you get a quite good basis of all the engineerings, as I said. So you'll do a couple electronics modules where you get into labs, you'll get to do some practicals, build some circuit boards, do a little bit of coding as well. You have your mechanical labs where you get to learn a lot about the physics of how things move and how machines are made, and as well things like how materials are composed as well. And then you get your basic sciences. So you don't actually need a science subject coming into this course at all, even if you want to do biomedical, because they have this first year module where you do a bit of physics, bit of chemistry, and a bit of biology. But then I think the greatest part of the first year course is the project you get to do. So they actually make sure that you're getting a lot of practical knowledge coming in, and making sure that everyone is kind of up to speed. They don't expect you to have any prior experience engineering things or working in a workshop at all. I had none at all. I didn't do engineering for leaving cert, but our first year project is actually to build an automated car that will go around in a circle, that will follow a line and do a turn and everything. But you completely do everything from scratch. You build the circuit, you machine the body yourself, and you get to design it all yourself as well with the aid of lecturers and support of stuff like that.
What, and again, I always ask this because it's surprised what you get back, but what surprised you about the course, particularly if you can recall kind of the first few weeks, first few months? Anything surprise you?
I think it surprised me how much support you get and how kind of, if you're unsure or anything, how easy it is to ask for help. Like, as I said, I had no experience in machining anything or working in a workshop at all. And all I remember is I was in one of the first year practicals in the workshop. We were cutting up metal to make a little model plane that you do in first year. And I had no clue what I was doing. And I had a technician come up to me asking me, "Am I okay?" And I'm like, "Can you show me how to do this again?" And he was 100% happy to do. He was 100% happy to show me again. And it was just really surprising how nice everyone was and how willing everyone was to help you and kind of help you get there.
The phrase or the kind of thought, like everything is built from the ground up, so it doesn't matter. Like people often ask about languages courses. I like languages, but not very good at it. Where will I get support? And always kind of the answer in a variation comes back is everything is taught from the ground level up. So it's kind of something like what you're saying as well. So it doesn't matter if you come a little bit higher than somebody else in terms of a little bit more knowledge or experience or whatever it might be. Everybody eventually gets neck and neck and same level, and I guess coming out as a well-rounded graduate is the aim. So maybe if you fast forward then kind of through the years itself into your year three, into into kind of practical, into the working world, how did the first and second year set you up for, I guess, the practical opportunity, or how is it so far in general set you up for, I guess, success?
Yeah, well, you learn so many different things. Like you have your modules that would be very kind of based on the engineering concepts, how to design things, and like how to actually do the engineering. But they also make sure to integrate things like new product. I think this is new enterprise development, where you actually get a bit of business into your course and how to kind of set up a business yourself. And then they have things like professional development, where it'll teach you how to properly write a CV, especially for engineering, and how to kind of like write lab reports. I found that that was really practical coming into my intra, because in my intra, I went into a pharmaceutical company and I was helping a lab manager for a lot of the time. So I would be doing a lot of paperwork, a lot of kind of technical documents, and I found that that really helped me through the years before going into my intra placement.
The practical, and I do want to talk about kind of clubs and society, student ambassador as well, but practical is a standout, I guess, component of the experience that you have. And that's not necessarily exclusively associated to inside and in and around academia. It's also, I guess, on the, as I said, social side, the club and society side. So if for a moment, we might circle back to the course in a minute, but if for a moment we could maybe jump outside the classroom and into the open campus, if you like, give people a sense of two things if you can. One, the campuses that we have, and two, then kind of the social clubs and societies elements to those campuses.
Yeah, so in terms of campuses, I'm fully based on the Glasnevin campus, but I have been to the other St. Pat's campus and the other campus as well, just to do events with societies. Um, but like you honestly get like a massive experience of all the campuses if you're willing to get involved, even with the students' union and stuff. Then in terms of clubs and societies, there's over 140 of them. I've been involved with a few of them over my time, and just a little few, but
How many,
uh,
out of interest, how many?
see, it isn't that big because I've kind of ended up going back to the same ones. So in my first year, I worked quite closely with the Engineering Society, but I was also a bit involved with the Photo Soc as well. So the Photography Society. I've been involved with rock climbing, and that's been a big part of my experience in DCU. I've also done caving. I think I've done Media Production Society. I've been involved in quite a few things. I nearly set one up at one stage, the Formula Student Team, which was a competition where we were going to bring a team over to the UK to build a car, but that kind of, I think a few of us just got way too busy with assignments and other responsibilities. I think it's still going, but I honestly just had too much on my plate and I decided to step back from it. But
Could I put you on the spot? Favorite? Well, okay, two things. I'll give you a get out of jail free card.
okay.
Either favorite club or society, or favorite experience or moment, if you could pick one. In either one, not both to the
um,
question, or if you have answers to both.
well, they're kind of linked, to be honest. My favorite club or society has definitely been the rock climbing club. It's something that I'd never done. Well, I'd done it maybe once or twice at like a kids party years ago, but I'd never properly been into it until I came into DCU. And for some reason, it seems that engineers seem to flock towards engine or rock climbing. There's always seems to be a group of engineers. So I went along with a friend in first year, and I haven't left the club since. Um, I found that like one of my best experiences was last year. They usually do an annual trip to Glendalough, which we sadly can't do this year, but where you get to do rock climbing outdoors. But it's amazing because you get to go away with like a like-minded group of people, and you get to go completely out into Glendalough and go climb up rocks that you never thought you and reach heights that you never thought you would. And it was like my favorite experience was just after climbing a route in Glenlock and just being able to look out all over kind of the forest and the quarry, and it was just absolutely beautiful.
I'm trying to just think how can I kind of capture that, because so and it was something that for Sun just said in our last conversation somewhat, and that one of our favorite moments was literally sitting in the U having a chat, watching people go by, and you're mentioning, you know, climbing the trail or the Glen Loch and looking out on the views. And it's probably when you look back in a few years, and not to put words in your mouth, but it's those experiences as well as, you know, the employment and the practical and the passing all your exams, touch wood, and everything like that. So I just like the way you put it, that it's not necessarily all, which is important, obviously academia, but it's not necessarily all, even though as I was saying, the career and everything else is important. So what's the future holds? The crystal ball, where are we going? What are we doing?
Well, at the moment, what I'm looking at, I found that my interplacement actually influenced me quite a lot. If you had asked me a year ago what I was going to do, I would have given you a completely different answer. That wasn't completely sure, but now I'm actually looking to go into the medical device industry. So my interplacement, I was in a medical device company, and I'm still working there 2 days a week, just because I was so interested in it, and my bosses felt that I had done a good enough job. But I'm hoping to kind of stay in that industry because I find it really interesting, and I really like the aspect of being able to create things that could possibly help people.
Out of interest, because, and this is brilliant, because
Yep.
something that you learned during your intro which informed your decision, and you don't have to name anything per se, but did anything on your intro give you a really good grounding of, oh, I don't like that space, or did it inform in any way that sector? And you don't have to name anything as specific as I'm naming it, but did it inform you on the other side of where you don't want to go, out of interest?
Um, it didn't quite inform me about where I don't want to go, but I think that's more when I was applying to the inter process. It's a usually a job portal. When I would be asking about jobs in the interviews and kind of finding out a bit more about it, I discovered in years past, just from doing like TY work placements and just like the odd jobs, that I didn't want to be somewhere that I was kind of sitting at a desk the whole time. I wanted to be somewhere where I could be active, where I could be actually feeling like I'm doing something. So when I was coming into my work placement for Intra, I really felt that that was had to be an important element in the place that I was going to go. And I seem to pick right, because I'm constantly on my feet when I'm in this job.
I'm with you. Okay, so for those that are unaware, when you go out in your inter-work placement in DCU, DCU provides support, and essentially, and this could be slightly different per program, but essentially provide you as a student with a variety of different options and opportunities job-wise, and you as a student then go and apply to different ones. So what you're saying is, as you're applying, you're finding a little bit more about different areas, and actually that is what helped you inform. Very interesting. And that's important as well, because people do their intro, by the way, across every course and go, that's not for me. And just, but the opposite is what you're saying, is actually, this is something that's really, and now we're looking into the future a little bit here. How do you balance, very active you are, how do you balance that with a busy course, or how did you balance it, or any pitfalls that you fell into yourself?
Well, I found that it kind of takes a bit of practice, to be honest. When I was in second year, I found myself kind of struggling. I ended up taking on way too many things, and I found myself struggling throughout the year just to try to keep up with assignments, try to keep up with exams. But since then, I just trying to be balancing it. I've always made sure that my coursework is first, and that I make sure that that's done first before I get involved in any clubs or societies. And to make sure to like figure out which ones like to kind of narrow down. So at the moment, the only things I'm involved with, because of the fact that I'm final year and because of the fact that I'm working 2 days a week, I'm only involved properly with one society this year, which is rock climbing, and I'm on the committee, but I make sure that I kind of I restrict it to certain days. So let's say I have a meeting on Sunday and I have an event Tuesday and Thursday. Then I make sure that the other days would be the days that I do completely college, and I'll try and stay away from that stuff, just to make sure that I have enough time. And then if I have a bit of extra time left over, I will kind of invest it in trying to have a bit of fun and trying to keep active in my extracurriculars.
You won't be the first that has overdone it with club size, and you probably won't
Yeah.
be the last. So good to know that I guess learned, and you have a bit more of a sense. if you were, say, and maybe it's the same advice as such, try it and see what you like and don't like, but if someone was doing or going into engineering but also had, yeah, let's join 2, 3, 4, whatever it might be, and try it out, any particular advice? Maybe it is just a balance thing and making sure you're getting the right balance. Would that be it?
Yeah, it's really about trying to find the right balance in kind of the earlier years, like first and second year. There isn't quite too much emphasis on um it isn't quite like as hard or as intense, especially on the amount of your course that goes towards a degree. So this year, for instance, my final year, my fourth year, my average of my results is worth 75% of my degree. That's kind of why I've stepped back this year. Whereas the likes of first and second year, they aren't worth very much. So while you do put the work in and you try your best, it is kind of the best time to be trying a lot of new things, to be trying whatever you want, and then you can kind of have them narrowed down while you get to your third and fourth year.
What we're nearly coming to the end of this conversation, so we're trying to get in a few different things, but what, looking back now, given advice that you would have said now as you're sitting you needed at the time, be it kind of choosing the course or choosing the college or coming in or in the last year or two, any advice in particular you give yourself?
I'd kind of tell myself to maybe try and not do too much. As I said, it was a little bit hard in the first few years, but also to try and like meet as many people as I can in the first couple of years. Because the likes of me, I came from Offaly. I didn't really know anyone. And in my first week, I was kind of clinging to the one or two people that may have come from like my town back in Offaly. But like at this point, I barely even talk to them anymore just because of the distance between us. But I would say just to kind of like talk to as many people as possible in the first few weeks, make new friends, try like meet new people, because it really is a valuable part of your experience.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm sure those people that you're speaking about will end up being your network and lifelong friends, and you'll probably in 10 years tap into them for different things and different ways. I want to maybe finish because student ambassador, I always do mention in these conversations, but it sometimes doesn't get as much as it deserves. So, as a student ambassador, for those that aren't aware, you're employed by the university essentially to represent the university, talk to students, visit, help us out at open days, amongst 100 other things that you can find yourself doing. So, student ambassador, anything jump to mind, or what does jump to mind when you say student ambassador, actually? Because you've been doing it for 3 years, well, 2.5, 3 years.
Well, I've been here a while. I would say that it's probably been one of the highlights of my college experience, to be honest. Just being able to meet so many people from different courses is great, and even like to see familiar faces all over campus instead of just knowing people out your one faculty. As well, I've just loved kind of like talking to students and kind of learning about like how their experiences are, and also sharing my experience has been a really valuable part. But as well, just DCU student ambassadors, what I didn't know coming into it was they work everywhere in DCU. And when I was coming into the job, I expected to be doing open days, to just have like talks and stuff. But it turns out I've worked probably in every single place in DCU, whether it be over the full campuses and every single faculty and service that we have at this point. But they really are like a really important part of DCU, and honestly their experiences, if you talk to a student ambassador, they're some of the most valuable experiences and the most valuable things you can hear to kind of find out more about the campuses and about the college.
You're 100% right in that you do work everywhere. You do a great job, but I think it's absolutely reciprocated, and you'll know this as well, that even from our president, Professor Darragh, right down to ourselves, right across the university and all the units and support, you're often called out on, positively called out in terms of the weight and the value and the, I guess, overall how you influence and are able to positively influence, just like you and many others would have got the same experience many years ago at open days, etc. And it's great to see that continuing, and hopefully for a long time to come. I want to leave the last word in terms of standout experience or something to that effect. What thought jumps to mind? You mentioned rock climbing, you mentioned experiences there, and now you're in your placement, and maybe that is what stands out though in your couple of years and still plenty of time to go.
I think just all the people that I've met and all the kind of networks that I've formed. So I've met so many different people from clubs and societies, from faculty, from working different events and student ambassadors. Like it's amazing how many people from different walks of life I've met and how many contacts I've made and how many people like for instance this year I've got my final year project and there is actually a couple of people that I may have met through a society or through the faculty who may not be in DCU anymore who I've actually contacted to help me out. So I feel like that's a really valuable part that I've come from DCU with, and I feel like I'll have in years to come.
You definitely will have for years to come. The director of alumni, Ross Munley, will not let you go for sure, and it is a lifelong relationship. And I know, just like you and many other hundreds and thousands of students experience over the years, there's mentoring, and when you pass out of DCU, you become an alumni, and there's always invitations back, and as I said, mentoring opportunities and various things that you're always invited to. So hopefully that will be the same for you. I just want
I
to
don't think you're ever getting rid of me.
Well, we've had you, you're part of the furniture long enough at this stage. No harm as well, because you do most of the work around the university, and people like myself often get the credit undeservedly so. So it is much appreciated, the whole student ambassador team and the work that you do. I just want to thank you as always for your time. It's always an enjoyable conversation, and thank you once again for all the work that you do, not just today, but in general, all the work that you do on behalf of the university.
Thank you so much.
Not at all. And we'll speak soon. Stay safe, and we'll speak to you soon.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks, mate.